Hey everybody, welcome to Trading Capital's exclusive analysis. In today's video, we're discussing the S&P 500 and the IWM, small caps versus the leading index, the S&P 500. So overall, we all know the markets have gone through a little bit of a bloodbath in the recent sessions, as seen by this daily chart of the S&P 500, the SPY ETF. Now, again, clearly what's going to be interesting here is you have this down move, a bounce, and then another continuation down move. And if we just look at things here structurally from a measured move standpoint, so this was your original down move, roughly 17.5 points down. Then you got a nice little bounce up here, which was about a $9 bounce. And then we take a look at the next measured move down from this high pivot, and we can also see that we've now completed on a daily close another 1840. So almost a measured move down here. So naturally, I would expect that we're probably going to get some sort of a bounce just like we did over here. And then there's a potential for us to have another third wave down. So you've had wave 1, bounce, wave 2, potential bounce, and then another wave 3, which could be coming into fruition. Now, the markets have gone through a pretty sharp decline in recent sessions. And what's really, really interesting is take a look at this upsloping wedge that we're finally trying to break out of. We're actually trying to have a technical breakdown. Not only are we breaking down outside of this wedge today on high volume, roughly 61.14 million shares. The previous day you also had an extreme amount of shares as well. But the fact is that you're also slicing through the 50 daily moving average. You got a candle close yesterday, a huge bounce intraday. I mean, just take a look at this intraday action in the S&P 500. You had this massive oversold bounce, which our members were able to capture. We actually played via SOXX, which we went in the money for. But nevertheless, the S&P 500 had that extraordinary bounce and then got absolutely sold right back into at the end of the session. So really not a positive day for the overall markets, especially the mega cap tech and the S&P 500. So the question is, are we going to get a bounce? You know, we're coming right up into this massive little gap fill. I actually had a measured move down, which I've been discussing with my members, right here about 536 before we get the next potential pattern. If whether it's a bearish wedge or bear flag, time will certainly tell. But nevertheless, I think that on a risk-to-reward basis, if we gap down tomorrow, I think that this market is going to get bought up with extreme force. So I'm actually hoping for a gap down tomorrow because that would be my play in the live day trading room with my members to actually buy the S&P or buy the NASDAQ, because again, it's looking like we could get a little bit of exhaustion move, especially if we gap over this gap. If we gap over this gap, I'm going to be a big buyer of the S&P 500 or overall market. Sorry about my alarm there. All right, let's look at small caps, IWM. So if I just actually erase everything to simplify things. Now, the IWM appears on the daily chart to be putting in some beautiful bullish consolidation. I know a lot of market participants are eyeing up the fact that we had this huge inverse head and shoulders breakout as seen as such. And again, if you measure this move of the inverse head and shoulders pattern, you roughly get about a 9.9% move up from the neckline, and you can see we've pretty much hit that measured move to an exact penny. So I think that the upside in the Russell 2000 is actually limited. I know a lot of people are thinking there's going to be another continuation move, but frankly, when we're entering a market structure where we are seeing inflation come down, we're in a disinflationary trend, we're potentially seeing a deflationary event on the horizon, say in the next 6 to 12 months. Obviously, not a lot of people are talking about that. But if we go through a deflationary event, small caps are not really the place you want to be. I know a lot of people are getting exuberant on the back of interest rates being cut from central banks, but really the Federal Reserve hasn't actually cut interest rates yet, although the bond market is pricing in a cut very soon by the Federal Reserve. But nonetheless, when I look at the weekly chart, so we've discussed the daily, when we look at the weekly chart of the Russell, take a look at this weekly topping tail we're just trading inside of. Until we get a close above that, this is all technically inside bearish consolidation. I think that this topping tail is just getting a beautiful retrace, which I've discussed with my members, and now I do think that it's actually on the near-term precipice of actually coming back down to the downside. I do think that the Russell is actually going to probably break down here. This is looking more like a little bit of a bearish wedge to me. I mean, you've had a an attempt at kind of getting through this, but you keep getting slammed right back down off of this 223, 224 zone, and I do think that it's only a moment in time before the Russell starts to see some profit takers. People get a little bit scared holding on to some of these risk assets in the near term. So I do think that the IWM is likely going to see some pretty sharp resistance in the overall near term. A cool channel that I'm watching here, just eyeing it up with my eyes. So right now, the bulls are still technically in control, but you can see that we had that breakout above, an attempt at confirming, which was a reversal. You confirmed the bearish reversal, another lower close, and now you're just kind of distributing, which is what I like to call it. You've actually never officially broken out of this daily chart channel and confirmed the breakout move. This is honestly looking like a potential failed breakout to me. And where do I think we're going to retest to at the minimum? I think we're going to retest back to this previous little neckline, or even your 50-day moving average. Notice how the SPY has now back tested its 50-day and actually pierced it. That's where I think the Russell is probably going to find its next little support level once it goes through a decline. So hopefully this analysis helps you all. Hopefully you're learning a little bit from these videos. Please give it a like down below. If you disagree with me, absolutely comment away. I'm always open to hearing other people's opinions and perspective, because that's what keeps us sharp as traders and investors, always hearing another side of the story. You know, I want to hear bullish thesis because right now I'm a little bit more bearish. But overall, thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you on the charts a little bit later.